So now that we're 2 chapters into the Jujutsu Kaisen sequel called Modulo, which takes place 68 years after the ending of the original series, it has a lot of people wondering, like, what's going on with the original cast of characters? Because in the first chapter, we found out that Maki and Akotsu just die of old age. And it's like, so did the rest of them all die of old age? Because a lot of them were just teenagers at the end of the series, so they would be in their 80s at this point, right? Which is like, you know, not an age where you just automatically die nowadays. I mean, things have progressed to the point of where we can live into our hundreds, right? Especially millennials, Gen Zs, and Gen Alphas. And of course, that brings us to the title of the video. It's like, what's going on with Yuji? Because Yuji was, I don't know, 16, 17, somewhere around there at the end of the first series. So he would be in like his mid 80s at this point if he were to be alive. And that's totally reasonable because our president was in his 80s and he was running the freaking country, right? Yeah, I know Yuji. I taught him the Biden blast. I learned it from Corn Pop. We defeated Sukuna together. We did a victory. I'll give you some good news. It hasn't been confirmed that Yuji is dead. So there's that. And Yuji is actually talked about in the first chapter. So I'm going to be cutting to stuff that happens in the first chapter. If you haven't read it yet, you should go read it or just watch my review of it. It's on my channel. But Tsurugi's talking to this child kidnapper guy, and they're discussing like the potential threat of like war between the aliens that are arriving to Earth and the sorcerers of Japan. That's kind of like the plot of Modulo, I guess. And the child kidnapper guy is like, I believe the aliens will start a war and invade us. And this diplomatic mission and the war will expose Japan's true colors. And Tsurugi, who is the grandson of Akotsu and Maki, says, what do you mean? And the child kidnapper guy is like, I know you're familiar with the culling game that occurred 68 years ago, which prompted the signing of the treaty. Satoru Gojo and Yuji Itadori put a stop to it. But do you know of anyone else as extraordinary as them nowadays in Japan? When the world finds out how weak sorcerers have become, this shady new energy business will be over. The value of Japanese citizens will plummet. So a few things to take away from there. First of all, Yuji is like a legend, as he should be. He killed Sukuna and saved the world. And then 2, sorcerers are kind of weak nowadays. And it's implied that, you know, they're definitely not as strong as they were during the Cullen game and definitely not as strong as they were during the Heian era. And it's like, why is that? I mean, I guess it's because things just calmed down after Sukuna was killed, right? Gojo was gone and it was kind of just Yuji, Megumi, Maki, and Akotsu. And then the rest of them who are all fighting for 5th place. But is it because Yuji just like went on like a mass slaughter spree? And is it possible that like Yuji kind of became like the All Might of the Jujutsu Kaisen world? So I'll just explain what All Might did in My Hero World real quick in case you're not familiar with it. He's one of my favorite characters. Truly incredible, especially before he gets completely nerfed. But what he did was reform the world, like literally. He became so powerful and so efficient that he reduced crime to like almost non-existence. At least high-profile villain crime. Like, he just destroyed everyone, every day, for many years, to the point of where he changed society at a fundamental level. And it was a double-edged sword because he wound up having society rely almost entirely on him. And it's possible that that happened with Yuji. Like, he just slaughtered all of the curses, or just any curse that could have even been or approaching special grade. And it got to this point of where everyone just became weak and lazy. I'm just taking a guess. We hardly really know what happened in those 68 years between the end of Jujutsu Kaisen and the beginning of Modulo. But there just has to be a reason as to why sorcerers are weak now and things are the way that they are. And obviously it has something to do with the fallout of the culling game. And seeing this really cool comic made by Still Cool Beans on Instagram reminded me of that, because they made this really cool what if comic of like, if Mahito were to be reborn, because that's like how the disaster curses work. They kind of come in cycles because they're born of major fears that people have. Kind of like the devils in Chainsaw Man. Mahito was born of the fear that humans have of other humans. That's why he looks like that. And given the way that Jujutsu Kaisen ended, with him talking to Sukuna and all that stuff, it seemed like he was probably going to come back. And in this comic, it shows that he does come back, but Yuji, as an old man, is just waiting for him there and just instantly slaughters him, which would be an incredible sequence in the actual story itself. Maybe we'll see that, maybe we won't. But I just wanted to put it out there because I don't think I'm the only one thinking that Yuji possibly became like the All Might of the Jujutsu Kaisen world. Maybe not as publicly as All Might was, but in his own secluded way, maybe. Now let me also go more into that ending sequence that I was talking about with Mahito talking to Sukuna. In the final chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, to summarize it, after Sukuna dies, he like comes to this passageway for the circulation of souls where he meets Mahito, who was just chilling there. And Mahito tries to dig deeper into Sukuna, saying that his whole journey wasn't for having fun or testing himself, but it was more so revenge for him being mistreated in his youth, which we never really find out about, but I guess it's not important. I don't know. Anyway, Sukuna essentially accepts that he's just going to chill because he lost. And Mahito's kind of like bothered by that. He's like, but then I'm the only unruly child left. Ah! And then in the final page of the chapter, we see that Yuji had put the last Sukuna finger back into the shrine where Megumi found the original Sukuna finger back in episode 1. And that always made us think like, oh, does that mean that Sukuna's going to come back? I don't know. I mean, they do mention Sukuna in Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo, where they equate the power of the aliens to him, even though there's all these kind of translation issues, and maybe they're just talking about the leader of the aliens with the horns. We'll see. It's probably just him. But the fact that the finger's there, it might lead to something, or maybe it's more symbolic of something. And I don't know, one of the theories that I've been hearing is that maybe Yuji sealed himself the way that Sukuna was sealed. As where Sukuna sealed himself so that he could be reborn into the future and fight somebody that could push him as far as he wanted to be pushed. And there's obviously always been these parallels and dichotomies between Yuji and Sukuna. So maybe at the end, Yuji seals himself, maybe not like in the fingers the way that Sukuna is, but just sealed in some way, so that instead of coming to the future to test himself selfishly and kill humanity or whatever, he's kind of like a secret weapon to be unsealed for when the future generations really need it. For example, and hypothetically, this would mean that, towards the end of this Modulo series, when everyone is fighting the horned guy and he's proven to be stronger than Sukuna, they're like, okay, we got to do it. And then they unleash Yuji. And that would be incredible, of course, and everybody would be hyped, and it would break the internet, it would go super viral. But given how shonen manga works and how Gege's writing is, especially with how he's writing Modulo so far, it would kind of like nullify the new cast of characters, right? And it especially goes against what Gojo was saying in the final chapter, when he's like, if the worst happens, it's my wish and my dream that you carry on in my absence. Even if I go out the way that I am now, everyone will grow and surpass me someday. Given that, I think it's better for at least one person to forget me and be strong in ways completely different from me. And that also gives more credence to the whole thing about Yuji becoming like the new Gojo or the new All Might of the Jujutsu Kaisen world, but that cycle would have to go on. There would have to be someone stronger than Yuji and so on and so forth. So if Yuji kind of just seals himself to be this ultimate tactical nuke that comes out when they need it, it goes against what Gege wrote, and also it goes against the shonen trope of the main characters having to defeat the final villain themselves. Now, I'm not saying that Yuji can't come back or Yuji isn't alive, but if he does, it's not like he's going to be the savior of the series. He'll probably do some cool stuff, but I guarantee you, it has to come down to Tsurugi and Yuka defeating the final villain, because that's just how shonen manga works. The same way that every MC comes from a significant lineage, or their dad is God or the king of hell or something, and then their mother is just some random woman who just was pretty and died. If you're thinking like, oh wait, I know a series like that, pause the video and keep thinking. Almost every freaking series has that story element to it. Go ahead, think about it. Anyway, is Yuji coming back? I would say it's 50-50 at this point. You could be optimistic, but I'm not going to, because Gege has like scarred me many times. But I would love it if Yuji came back, but there's just some difficulty to it. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about this. Where is Yuji? Is he still alive? Is he dead? Is he sealed? Or is he even going to be addressed? I even forgot that was an option. Just Gege never says anything about Yuji, which is totally plausible. I would actually put my money on that happening. But again, let me know. And if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.